Attribute number 7, worthy to be feared. Meditation number 26. God is huge. Psalm 33, 6-9. By the word of the Lord were the heavens made, and their starry host by the breath of his mouth. He gathers the waters of the sea into piles. He puts the deep into storehouses. Let all the earth fear the Lord. Let all the people of the world revere him. For he spoke, and it came to be. He commanded, and it stood firm. What is wonderful about this attribute? For man, there is always space between saying and accomplishing, a gap so large that often the accomplishing never happens, even after much saying. But for God, all speech is effecting speech. There's never any gap. He did not need millions of years to get the universe up and running. He spoke, and it happened. It was easier for God to create a fully functional universe than it is for you to think a thought. He accomplishes the unimaginable through nothing more than simply willing it. Verse 7, he gathers the waters of the sea into piles. He puts the deep into storehouses. We may be able to conceive of greater things than the ocean, but it is questionable whether we can physically experience anything greater. How awesome is the sea! With much labor and sweat, we can gather a few leaves into a pile in the front yard. God does that with the ocean in every storm. He powers a hurricane and makes millions of piles of water, violent, deadly, floating mountains 100 feet high. All the forces of mankind can no sooner tame even one of those waves as raise the dead. The best we can do is build something that can simply ride on top of them and get tossed by them without being destroyed. Verse 6, by the word of the Lord were the heavens made, their starry host by the breath of his mouth. While the sea is the greatest reality we can experience, the sky is the greatest reality we can see. Thinking of the vastness of the heavenly bodies maxes the capacity of our minds. Before we even get to the moon, we surpass our ability to conceive of the distances and sizes in a way we can relate to. After that, they only have meaning mathematically, and eventually even that fails. The vastness of the universe is beyond imagination. And yet, God can measure the entire cosmos with the span of his great hand. He spoke, and all of it was instantly flung into existence, fully formed, mature, and in motion. Verse 8, let all the earth fear the Lord. Let all the people of the world revere him. It's scary to be around huge, powerful things. If you were working around a machine that could move a mountain, you would be especially careful. Get in the way of one single gear and you would be ground to powder. If there were a giant so big he could hold the moon in his hand, it would almost certainly be fatal to be anywhere near him, as a simple twitch from his finger could instantly destroy a city. That giant would be a speck of dust compared to the Lord. What effect would it have on your heart if you were to consciously experience God's worthiness to be feared today? Experiencing this attribute. Experience this attribute by considering God's greatness. You sit here before the great King of creation and are right now in the presence of majesty. Only the infinite power of the righteousness of Christ keeps you from being instantly consumed by His glory. One tiny crack in that protective shield, and you would be destroyed. Awareness of His presence should, at the very least, bow our heads, if not drive us to our knees or on our faces before His greatness. It should make us tremble, but at the same time, it should extract from deep within our hearts powerful joy, the wonderful feeling of being staggered by beautiful, awesome greatness. Experience this attribute by using that which is frightening in the creation as training wheels to teach your soul how awesome God is. Use every sensation of fear you ever experience to preach to your soul about how worthy God is to be feared. Think, what kinds of circumstances tend to be the most frightening to you? How could you prepare yourself so that those experiences remind you to think about the fear of the Lord when they occur? Promise to trust today. Psalm 25, 12 and 13. Who then is the man that fears the Lord? He will instruct him in the way he should go. He will spend his days in prosperity, and his descendants will inherit the land.